I think it's really important to engage your stakeholders, because once you engage your stakeholders, from my perspective as an administrator, that makes your job a lot easier because people are more creative, they have more energy, and they take ownership along with you for the problem, and so they can take ownership of the solution. How does it work out here at Tacos High?
It's evolved. When I first got here, one of the things that we did was an environmental scan. And we looked at getting feedback from students, parents, teachers, classified, as well as district level personnel.
Yes.
And we literally, by using social media, we had used Facebook at the time and MySpace, we had scanned and sent a survey to all of the different stakeholders. Took about a month to gather all the data, and when all the data came back right in front of us, we realized that we had 4 areas that we really needed to focus on. First one was how decision making was done. There was a perception that decisions were being made in isolation, that there wasn't a lot of stakeholder involvement. The second thing was structure and roles, that some folks weren't real clear about roles, responsibilities, etc. And we knew coming in that if we did not spend some time looking at and explicitly laying out this is the role, the responsibility, etc., that what ends up growing from that is interpersonal conflict.
Right.
Because you have some folks that feel like they're doing all the work and some feel like,
Absolutely.
And so we wanted to make sure that we managed that. The third thing was communication. What communication looked, from me to colleagues, from me to teachers, from teachers to students, student to teacher, student to parent. We looked at all the different dynamics around communication. And lastly...
That's a key one, communication.
Oh, big one. And I think getting people to even understand the complexity around all of the different angles that communication, especially at this level, moves. You've got, you look at the stakeholders that I serve and have to link agendas with, ed services, you've got personnel, you've got business services, you've got the superintendent, you've got the Board of Education, you've got your parents, you've got the press, you've got the kids. I mean, when you start thinking about, one of the most important things you can do as a principal coming into a site or any organization, number one, is you've got to get stakeholders on the same page about where the current reality of the organization is at. If you don't have common agreement about that, where we need to go and why we need to go in that direction, if that isn't understood by all stakeholders, you've got issues. So coming in and being able to survey and get a lot of that feedback from everybody involved really then gave us a handle on, look, we've got to hit this, we've got to look at our decision making and how it happens. We've got to look at our structure and roles. We've got to look at how we communicate. And the fourth one was mission and vision. Where are we going? And that kind of pulse as to what does Talkwitz stand for? What is it going to mean when a kid walks across the stage and gets a diploma from Talkwitz High School? Is there going to be a distinction with that? Is it going to be different from Hemet High or West Valley High? There was no identity that was there. And so gaining and listening to all that feedback only brought up more questions. And through that, we got a lot of great feedback in terms of getting the stakeholders involved.
Fantastic. What kind of opportunities do you have for parents to become involved?
Well, and this is where we've now taken the next big step. Number one, last year we had our full accreditation with the Western Association of Schools and Colleges. Parents were involved in all of the WASC breakout meetings, which included vision and organization, culture, curriculum, instruction, and assessment. From that, we grew into what is now known as TPEC, which is the Talkwitz Parent Engagement Committee. And with that, one of the things that we did not want, and unfortunately with public education, one of the only ways you have feedback with parents is through school site council or when you send a report card home.
Yes.
We wanted to make sure that the parents had, again, a more natural exposure and a more natural role with the school than simply rubber stamping our budget or getting feedback every 6 weeks on a progress report. The Talkwitz Parent Engagement Committee allows that to happen. We have now parents who are solely set aside. Number one, when we came to Talkwitz, there was no PTSA. Right now, we're over 200.
Fantastic.
We blew it out of the water.
Yes.
In addition, now all of those folks now play a formal role in how we put our budget together. They have direct input. We just led discipline committees here, as a matter of fact, even into the second week of summer, where we had parents in there with teachers, with students, with former grads, and those that are going to be graduating, all talking about what we could do to have a more proactive discipline policy that didn't really focus on the punitive, but focused on embracing the behaviors that we want.
Yes.
They are naturally involved, and if you'll have an opportunity to meet my parents here, I'm sure. I'm talking with them every day. We have volunteers that come in that help out at sporting events. We have volunteers that come in and speak to our kids. It is getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Okay.
And through TPEC, it's a much more organized way that we can continue to monitor and ensure that happens. Big obstacle is we have a lot of parents out there that 60% of our population do not have a diploma, much
Yes.
like my mom. Never got
Yes.
past 8th grade.
Yes.
Chose to have me and get employed. We want those parents involved.
Absolutely.
And one of the big challenges that we face right now is for any of those parents to come and be involved. I've got a $75 fee where I've got to go and get them fingerprinted and stuff, and it's not cost effective for a parent to come in and help and be part of their kid's education, and to tell them that, well, look, we're doing everything we can to try and get money to be able to get you down here. It's ridiculous.
Yes.
We've got to do better than that.
Absolutely,
So-
and that's a real issue. I've talked with quite a few parents, and for me, of course, that $75 isn't an issue. And I do volunteer in the schools because I want to be connected with what's going on there. But for a parent or a family that's trying to make ends meet, that's a major obstacle to being involved in your child's life. And I understand the reasons behind it. As someone who has been an educator for over 30 years, you have to have safe children and you have to protect them, and you're operating in loco parentis, but at the same time you want to engage those parents who are unable to afford the fingerprinting and have a sincere desire to make some kind of contribution.